Greetings and salutations to anyone listening out there. I'm your host, Zoe, and welcome to my podcast where I'll be giving you all the information you could ever need to know about holidays. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing the past of my favorite holiday, Halloween. If you're ready, then let's dive right in, head first into holiday history. I'm sure most of us can say that we celebrate and enjoy many of the holidays year-round, but have you ever stopped to think about how your favorite celebrations came to be? What is the origin behind these special days of the year, and what makes us keep honoring traditions that have been passed down from centuries ago? Today, I'm going to be taking you back to 2,000 years ago when Halloween was born. So, Halloween is a holiday celebrated every single year on October 31st. Sometimes, though, when Halloween falls on a weekday or just in these more rural communities out here, Halloween is celebrated a couple days before the actual day. But all that means for me is multiple days of Halloween, because one town could be having it Saturday, one on Friday, one on Sunday, and one on, Monday, the day that Halloween actually falls on this year. So, the more the merrier. So Halloween is, so the word Halloween comes from two words, the word hollow, meaning holy person, and the word een, deriving as a contraction of Eve. Halloween first began with the ancient Celtics, who are from an area that is now Ireland, the UK, and northern France. They celebrated the holiday of Samhain, which was a 3-day festival celebrating death and rebirth. All of the people celebrating would divide themselves into two halves, the light and the dark, where they would have a big fire festival and dance around rings of fire in the evening to ward off ghosts and negative spirits. In about the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. Soon incorporated the traditions of Samhain and kind of took the holiday for himself, but he wanted to rebrand it as a more church holiday, The evening before was known as All Hallows Eve, later on Halloween. Over time, it evolved into a day of festivities, including trick-or-treating, dressing up, carving jack-o'-lanterns, and festive gatherings. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. Over the span of 400 years, the Romans kind of developed their own holidays, and there were two major ones that were pretty similar to the holiday of Samhain. The first one is called Feralia. It's a day in late October when Romans would traditionally commemorate the passing of the dead. The second holiday or festivity that they had was to honor Pomoa, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. Her symbol is the apple, which could, possibly explain this tradition that we have at parties or kids events, sometimes in October, bobbing for apples. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints, later known as All Saints' Day. It soon incorporated many of the traditions of the Samhain holiday. The evening before was known as All Hallows Eve, later on Halloween. Over time, it evolved into a day of festivities, including trick-or-treating, dressing up, carving jack-o'-lanterns, and festive gatherings. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. Over 400 years, the Romans had, come up with their own holidays and celebrations, and there were two major ones that were very similar to the holiday of Samhain. The first one was Feralia, a day in late October when Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. And the second day was to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. Her symbol is the apple, which could possibly explain the tradition we have nowadays of bobbing for apples on Halloween. By the 9th century, Christianity had an influence on Celtic lands. In AD 1000, the church made November 2nd All Souls' Day, a day to honor the dead. It was widely believed that the church was attempting to replace most Celtic festivities for the dead with their own church-sanctioned holidays. The people who celebrated would dress up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. So, how did Halloween get to us in America? Since the holiday was mostly celebrated and had its traditions in, the United Kingdom or France and England and, some countries a little bit far away from us, it obviously came here over time when people were immigrating into the country. The celebration of Halloween, when it first got to America, was limited to the New England colonies. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies instead, because most of America was Protestant at the time. So here's a little bit of history behind just some of the specific Halloween events and how they came to be. So trick-or-treating. So, how did trick-or-treating begin? In England and Ireland, during All Souls' Day and All Saints' Day celebrations, poor people would visit the houses of wealthier families and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives. It was known as souling. The practice was later taken up by children who would go door to door asking for gifts such as food, money, and ale, an early form of trick-or-treating. Carving pumpkins. Pumpkin carving began in about the 19th century. The practice of carving faces onto pumpkins and other vegetables became associated with Halloween in Ireland and Scotland. Jack-o'-lanterns originated from an Irish myth about a man named Stingy Jack, who tricked the devil and was forced to roam the earth with only a burning coal and a turnip to light his way. People began to make their own versions of Jack's lanterns by carving scary faces into turnips or potatoes and placing them into windows or near doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. With Halloween coming over to the U.S., it first began with immigrants celebrating as they did back in their homelands. A big way of doing this was by pulling pranks. Halloween tricks included placing farmers' wagons and livestock on barn roofs, uprooting vegetables in backyard gardens, and tipping over outhouses. By the early 20th century, vandalism, physical assaults, and sporadic acts of violence were not uncommon on Halloween. So, Halloween 2022, what's the vibe here? So, I had some, costume predictions, but I'm now recording this, the day after Halloween, so my costume predictions wouldn't really be predictions now, would they? So instead I'll just kind of, talk about some of the costumes that I've seen people being, some popular stuff this year. So first off, I saw a lot of, those witches from that Disney movie. The one with the red hair and the green dress and the one with the purple dress. I saw a lot of them. A lot of kids as them, and a lot of adults as them. I've also seen a lot of carries, like, especially on TikTok and stuff. A lot of girls just covering their old prom dresses in blood and calling it a Halloween costume. Um, I feel like every year I see a lot of fairies because a fairy is like such an easy costume, you know? You just gotta wear something cute and wear some fairy wings with it. I also saw a lot of Fortnite characters. Yeah. Hmm. Now I'm gonna talk about what I did for Halloween. So, Halloween was yesterday as of recording this, and I was supposed to work, but I got the day off, which was really cool because I love Halloween. So, I. Okay, this is gonna sound so lame. I didn't do anything that cool or exciting. I just took my little brothers up to Keokuk and I took them trick or treating. And we just like went down Grand Avenue and got a ton of candy. But it wasn't enough candy, you know? So we went to Walmart and I bought them 2 big bags of candy. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble about the best holiday literally ever. Um, if you feel like you might have learned something or anything interests you, make sure to come back next time to learn a little bit more about another holiday. Who knows? Who knows? Thanks for listening. Bye.